Let's talk about running for the week of March 23rd. We start this week with a high quality workout of halves, mile or miles, and halves. Check Training Peaks for the specifics on your workout. We start this workout as we do every workout with a good strong warm up. And I'm emphasizing that because I've seen, especially in the really high intensity where we're doing shorter repeats, I've seen in those workouts, some people are not adding the intensity to the warm up. They're going out and running 2-3 miles, in some cases even more. But when I look at the maximum speed of that warm up, it's nowhere close to what the first interval will be. So make sure that you're adding some intensity to your warm up. The idea isn't to wear you out, it is to warm you up, but make sure that you're at least doing some striders, if not a couple minute on, minute offs, and then some striders. But you should be breathing hard. You should have some tension in your legs, but just for relatively short durations because it is a warm up, it's not part of the workout. So make sure that you're good and ready to go. Otherwise, the first couple of intervals might be a real struggle, or you hit them really well, but you're recovering because you weren't warmed up enough for that. So get a good strong warm up. Start with 2 times 800, 1 to 2 times 1600, and 2 times 800, or half mile, mile, and half miles. And the recovery jog after the half miles or 800s is 2 minutes, and after the miles is 3 minutes. And all of these are at 85 to 90%. And 85 to 90% is certainly the business end of your VO2. And I put this little chart here to maybe help you dial in on how that should feel. 80%, life is good. Some of you can average 80% for a marathon, so obviously for hours on end, right? So 80%, once you get there and once you're warmed up, it's not too much trouble. It's really running, it's not jogging, but life is good. When you get to 85%, comfortably hard. As you're getting to threshold, but you're still purely aerobic. You're still comfortable. And then at 90%, you cross over into it's no longer comfortably hard, it's just plain hard. And then when we get to 95%, that's rental property. You're not going to spend a whole lot of time there. If you're truly at 95% of your VO2, you better see a finish line coming up pretty quickly, or it's a really short race, but it's an all-out effort, or you're doing really short, fast intervals. So when we get to that 85%, that's essentially you're still aerobic, so your aerobic threshold when you go a little bit above that. When you go above 90%, you're getting to 95%. That's your anaerobic threshold. You are purely anaerobic. There is no aerobic metabolism going on. You are flooding your body with lactic acid. In between, which is where this workout is at 85 to 90%, and I often refer to that as threshold plus, it is that area where you're no longer purely aerobic, but you're not purely anaerobic either. It's a mix in there, and you can spend a little bit of time. Certainly you can spend 800 or 1600 meters there. Now, if you, from the first step, you're at 90% in that mile, it's going to feel too much like a race. So you're going to transition through even the half miles. It's going to start closer to threshold, but about halfway through, you're going to be going over threshold and getting to that threshold plus. So they should be good, strong efforts. It shouldn't feel like racing, but if you're not real comfortable at shorter, high intensity races, you might not be able to tell much difference. So they're good, hard efforts is the point of all of that. Moderate quality workout this week, 75 to 85%. Steady state run, we do that so frequently, I won't talk too much about that. We're just trying to accumulate more high-end aerobic training, that time between 75 and 85%. It is for your legs and your lungs, but because it's a moderate quality workout, and you did this workout 2 days before, your legs might be more challenged. Your lungs might be relatively comfortable, but your legs are still have some fatigue in them. And that's why it's 75 to 85%. Because if your legs are telling you 75 to 80 is enough today, that's fine, do that. But if you feel good and you can get closer to that 85% or that high-end aerobic level, do that. And this one, especially after pushing this one pretty hard, when we come down here, don't worry about splits, don't worry about pace. Just dial in at that effort, go cruising, and let the splits happen. Now, I should point out, when I talk about 85% being high-end aerobic, that depends on fitness level and the individual. So these are generalizations. Most of you probably aren't more than a few percentage points apart from that. And you can tell because when you go out and let's say you think your 85% heart rate is 165. And for some of you, that's really low. For some of you, that's really high. So that's just an arbitrary number. If it's 165 and you get to 163 and suddenly you can feel a difference in your chest, you can feel a difference in how you're breathing and how it feels, okay, that's probably your threshold. You have probably just hit your aerobic threshold. So you can feel that, but it should be somewhere around that area. If you're at 85% and you feel like this is no problem, one of two things has occurred. One, you're not in very good shape, so it's really easy to get there. And that's why when somebody is just starting or somebody's been off for a while and they're not in very good shape, we don't really want to use heart rate because if you get up and cross the room, you're basically at 80%. So that's one reason. The other is you just don't have good numbers. If you're fit and you're ready to go racing and maybe you've raced a few times and 85% feels like jogging, you're working with bad numbers and we need to reevaluate those. Long run this week, endurance long run. For many of you, it's the last, revisiting our calendar from last week. These are Monday dates. We have 2 more training weeks left for those of you doing Carmel or Boston, and then we're at taper and then race week. So some of you, there's lots of mixes out there based on a lot of variables, including race schedules. It might be long run with quality one week and an endurance long run the next week. So check your training peaks for that. If it doesn't seem quite right or you seem to be missing one or the other, let me know. We can make sure that you're doing the right thing for your long run. But for most of you, it's an endurance long run. Just cover the distance. We don't need to show off on this one. We're a little bit too close to show off in training. We have a couple more weeks and then we can show off on race day. Just want to run smooth and steady. Don't hold back. It's not jolly jogging, but we also don't need to go out and set any PRs either. Continue to work on your long run lab. I've talked about that enough. If you're not quite sure what I mean, go back to some previous weeks' videos and we'll talk more detail on those. And target 0 stoppage. I know there are times where 0 stoppage just isn't going to happen, but work on your logistics and try to eliminate that. If you can go to 0 stoppage on this one, I think that'll be a big confidence boost. And one of the things that I show people in Training Peaks when I'm reviewing training logs is this long run and this long run were pretty close in your average pace. But then I show what it was for total time pace. And the second one might be, it's not unusual for it to be 30 seconds per mile faster if we include stoppage time. Which one do you think you got better training effect on? The one where you ran 7:30, but you really averaged 8-minute pace per mile given the total time? Or the one where you ran 7:30 and you averaged 7:30? I think it's pretty clear which one is the most beneficial. So we're getting really close for many of you to the big race day. Just a couple more weeks of high quality and we're going to start tapering. So enjoy this one. Let's keep building while we can.